Hello, everyone. That was a different intro. Welcome to another episode of the Fins Bandwagon. I'm your host, Fins Evan Posner. With me, as always, is my friend from another country, Michael Vogel. How are you,
Another
buddy?
country? I'm great, brother. I'm great. It's the bandwagon, baby.
Yeah,
Must be
honestly,
Tuesday night.
Listening to these nonsense on Real Talk Fins Talk, I'm telling you, you stole my thunder tonight. I'm not happy with Steve. I'm telling you guys, we have a beautiful producer today. Tati, it's such a pleasure to not have to work with Bobby tonight. I'm telling you. Always a pleasure. Guys, welcome. It's okay, Tati. It's okay. Bobby always gives the wrong instructions.
It's all good.
When he tells me to go left, I go right. Anyways, guys, welcome to the Fins Bandwagon. I really appreciate you guys joining it. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight because this is the positive show. Even though we talk with the negative, we always turn it into a positive. So we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. So, Michael, how you doing? How's everything? How's your weekend been? What did you do this weekend?
Man, I am great. I have my son, who up until recently has only been interested in swimming as a sport, decided that he wanted to try out for baseball.
Good for him.
And $150 later, I guess we're doing baseball.
For how long?
That's just for the equipment. We haven't even signed up for the
I know.
the $250.
You have to get him a glove. You have to get him cleats.
Oh, yeah.
Hockey. Yeah. I do hockey with my kid. You have no idea. And they grow out of it every year. It's crazy. Football, too. Soccer's the easiest sport. Soccer or basketball, right? You just show up with a pair of running shoes. But most people, even with basketball, it could probably cost you more. So
Exactly.
Anyways. So we're going to talk a little bit today about just the Dolphins the last couple of days, what happened today, what's happened over the last couple of days. But the one area I really want to focus on, because we're bandwagoners. And when we say we're bandwagoners, we're not talking about being fans of the players on the team only. We're fans of the actual team and what's best for the team and the positive outlook for the team. So one thing that I really want to focus on and harp on, because I know this is also your forte and I want you to spend a lot of time on it. And then we'll talk about other areas of the defense, the offense, and overall what's going on with the Dolphins. But overall, I want to talk about the O-line. So the one thing about the O-line for everybody is the fact that the games are won in the trenches, as we always know. And the one thing I've been very stubborn, I feel the team is very stubborn about, and I'll even tie it to Tua a little bit, is the fact that they're very loyal to their draft picks because they're convinced that if they were picked in the first two rounds, that these are players that they just don't want to give up on. So if you're Noah Igabakani, I can't pronounce his name. I'm a guy who usually pronounces names well, or you're now you're dealing with Austin Jackson, or you're dealing with Liam Eichenberg. I feel like last season when they were saying that Liam Eichenberg, when he got injured, that he was just about to turn around the corner, or Austin Jackson. You want to know what? After 2 seasons, you know what I find very funny? After 3 years, they're willing to throw Tua under the bus for not developing well.
Right.
When he was put in and out. Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson have been developed for 3 years in an O-line, and they still haven't proven their worth, and they won't let it go. So I want you to take a little bit of time, and I'll take a little bit of time. Why do you feel that they are so gung-ho on thinking that these two players are a foundational piece for their O-line, on the premise that they are banking themselves on Tua for the next 2 years, and they're basically saying that we're willing to rely on these two rookies that were drafted in 2020 and 2021 in the first 2 rounds to protect him and to guide him and to be there for him. And as we can see for the last 2 years, that hasn't been the case. They haven't been able to stay on the field, and when they're on the field, they're like turnstiles. So give me your feedback, because you're really into the O-line, what you thought of Austin Jackson when he was drafted. Same with Liam Eichenberg. Did you have high hope for them? Because I know you're a Notre Dame guy. So if you're a Notre Dame guy, what did you think of Eichenberg? So just give me your whole powwow about the offense. I want you to go.
I think part of it, right? Because if you're a big wig in the NFL, I think there's definitely some what's the word I'm looking for? Like bullheadedness, or we got to make this work because we selected him. I watch Notre Dame every week. I watch, and because of Notre Dame and their rivalry with USC, I saw a lot of those guys play, and I didn't feel like they were stretches at the time, because I saw Austin Jackson was pretty decent at USC, and I saw what Eichenberg. And I wasn't a huge fan of him as I was, Martin coming out at Notre Dame, or who's the guy with the Colts, the guard. can't think of it. Just,
you would know it better than me.
Yeah, it just blew my mind right off the top. But yeah, so like I felt like they were legitimate picks. Now, the other thing that you throw in there is how many offensive line coaches have they been through? How many
10 and 9 years.
Experienced offensive line coaches.
10 and 9 years.
Well, there you go. And you sit here and we wonder, we continue to blame Grier, which I understand. Like, there's a lot of it that he needs to get right, but at the same time, the head coach has got to get the offensive line coach right. You can't just keep, trying out guys because they're your buddies. You got to find a legit offensive line coach, because I'm telling you what, whoever the best offensive line coach is in the league, I don't know who that is off the top of my head.
Like, I would really, a bunch of us, we were trying to go after Mike Munchak. That's who everyone wants.
Munchak. All right, so you take Munchak and whatever team he's with now, you get rid of Eichenberg and you get rid of Jackson, and they go with him. They're going to be productive members in the NFL. How many guys have we let go off the Miami Dolphins for offensive line, and they end up and they're starting for other teams? They're going to Super Bowls and winning Super Bowl championships with the Chiefs or the Packers, or
wasn't the guy who played right guard who was a turnstile on the last play of the game with Aaron Donald? Wasn't he my former Miami Dolphin?
I think so. Yeah, it really
Juwan, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Juwan James.
Juwan James, maybe. Like that.
Yeah, I think that might be it. But that's the other thing. Like, we can sit here and say, Grier is getting these guys that we can't develop. Well, of course you're not going to develop them, because they're getting, like you said, 9 offensive line coaches in 10 years. That's a different coaches have a different way of coaching that. The way I coach offensive line is different than the head coach that I worked for last year. The way that he did it was a lot more, one way this and one way that. So I think a lot of it has to do with, can we get a line coach that we're going to commit to for, 3 or 4 or 5 years straight, and let him develop the line and how he wants to coach it.
What are your thoughts on Butch Barry? Because if people were sort of like, that's a Mike McDaniel hire.
And again, like I wanted Munchak, right? I wanted Munchak. But here we come with another, Mike McDaniel guy. Now, if he's able to develop these guys and make them work, then we can reevaluate that at the end of the year. But I think that you've hit home runs on so many different areas on this team. You get a home run, a grand slam for defensive coordinator. Your defensive line is awesome. Your linebackers are starting to get there. Your back end guys are awesome. You got a deep quarterback. Your skill positions. Now it's like, give us a running back coach and an offensive line coach that can develop talent, and let's see them draft some guys that they can develop.
Yeah. Hey guys, but Tati, can you block that Bobby Finstock guy? He said he's not a very nice guy tonight. Oh, hello, Dave, my favorite Green Bay Packer fan. Cap, what's up, buddy? So, overall, O-line, do you believe that they have the foundational pieces right now to win this year? Because one thing that really always bothered me about it is that if you look at I always refer back, because I think everyone has that memory of a couple of years ago where Patrick Mahomes was running for his life. And why did they lose that Super Bowl? Their O-line couldn't stop a Colt.
Exactly.
And why did the Bengals lose the Super Bowl? Because their O-line crapped the bed at the end.
You can't protect. Yeah, exactly.
You can't protect. And like Bobby has always said, and like everyone always said, a right tackle for a left-handed quarterback makes a very, very, very big deal, right? What's up, John? What's up, Steve? I'm always just getting cut around on them. Now we got some people. I'm telling you, they cut over our time. It really hurts. I'm telling you. We're going to go long tonight. Bobby's going to miss his supper. Tati won't be able to make him supper tonight. It's all good. But so overall, do you think that – okay, do you see any promise for Austin Jackson, or are they wasting their time?
Well, I mean, if – like everybody says, defense wins championships, and I feel like you've got a lot of strong defensive pieces. I do agree with Dave in the fact that we have O-line holes and we don't have a lot of depth behind at the wide receivers outside of the top 3 or 4. But if you have a solid defense that can come in and stifle teams like crazy, then you have an opportunity. They were somewhat successful, even though it was let's pull names out of hats and who's going to be a left tackle today, right tackle, center guard. And so, I think there's the possibility, but if you're putting it all on the offensive shoulders to win you a Super Bowl, I don't feel comfortable that this offense line, the way it's constructed today, is going to be that piece.
Yeah. What about Liam Eichenberg? But based on what you're thinking, is he going to be the starting left guard, or would you start someone like Robert Jones or Jerome?
I'm not starting. I don't feel comfortable with Eichenberg after what I saw last year, and I'm a Notre Dame guy. I want to be able to come up here and say he's the ticket, but I don't know that he is. Again, it comes back to coaching and how well, these guys can develop them. That's where I struggle with Grier is his inability to hit or pick guys that have a lot of experience in the draft. For me personally, if I'm a GM, my love is the Big Ten offensive lineman. I feel like if you get an offensive lineman from Wisconsin or Iowa or Ohio State or Michigan, like I feel those teams always produce really, really good offensive linemen. And Notre Dame's hit on some, here recently, but I don't know what it is with Eichenberg. I don't know why he feels so miss right now. I hope it works out, and I hope he's able to give us something this year. But going into the 23 season, I'm not 100% sold on it.
Okay. Based on what you see right now on the O line, based on who's there, what would be your starting O line come game one if it was the existing O line, no more signings?
Almost that consistent line that we had without Eichenberg and Jackson last year. You had you're gonna have to help me out a little bit. My brain doesn't catch all the names I'm supposed to. So left tackle was
the starting last season was Austin Jackson at right tackle, Teron Armstead at left tackle, Liam Eichenberg at left guard, Robert Hunt at right guard, and Connor Williams at center.
I like Connor Williams at center. I like Hunt at right tackle, and obviously Armstead at left tackle. With those other the guys that filled in, Shell. I like Shell when he filled in. I still feel like they have to address the O-line, especially in the draft. There are some right tackles available.
I like Matt Feeler. Matt Feeler is an interesting guy.
Yeah.
Also, what was interesting for me? Would you do this? And I'm going to talk about the O-line a little bit. At 51, if you had the choice, Tucker Kraft or John Michael Schmitz, go get John Michael Schmitz, put him at center, put Connor Williams at left guard, put Robert Hunt at right tackle, and put a Robert Jones or someone like that at right guard. Would you do something to that effect, or have people compete for right guard, or that?
Yeah,
effect?
I think you just got it. I think
I know you're high on John Michael Schmitz, so would you go grab him to be your center and move Connor?
I definitely like him at center, and if memory serves me correct, Connor has, if Connor's able to play other positions, I do agree with what Bobby said. Don't fix what's not broken. So if you keep him at center, many
snaps? At least, honestly, he was good, but at least 2 or 3 times a game, Tua would have to jump 4 feet in the air to catch the ball.
Yeah,
he still hasn't perfected. He's not a natural center, and
right.
But it's typical Miami Dolphins for me, right? Because I love the team, but the one thing they don't do with this offensive line is they did this with Minka on the deep. They put the person in the position.
Yeah,
I'll stop with the 5'10". You're 5'6". But they stop moving people to positions they don't belong to, right? Play their natural positions, right?
Exactly. So keep if you end up keeping Williams there, then go out and draft a right tackle. There's several right tackles out there that I would love to have that played right tackle in college. Yeah. Why would you draft a right tackle in college to move him to left tackle when he has gotten most of his reps at right tackle? DeJuan Jones from Ohio State. This dude is massive, right? And he was the blindside tackle. Let's see if I can find where he's at here. And just this is off NFL Draft Buzz. These guys do great work. This is how big he is.
How big?
6'8", 374,
Oh, 274.
His arm spans are 89.5, which ranks as the 100%.
Where's he ranked this year? Where's he ranked?
He's one of the top tackle. He's number 5 tackle on the board.
Okay.
But if you can't get him, there's also Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, and you have Cody Mock, and then another one that kind of climbed up the combine board, but he's I think he's left is Blake Freeland. But those 3, Dwan Jones, Darnell Wright, and Cody Mock have all played right tackle. And I would rather I agree with what so many people have said is that, why can't we draft? How's it so hard to draft a right tackle? Yeah. It took me 20 minutes today to find out this information on who plays right tackle. Why can't we get scouts in the building that said, no, draft one of these guys, and I did a couple mock drafts to see if Dwan Jones would be there at 51, but he kept getting taken in the 40s. So if you want him, I think you're going to have to move up to get him.
Yeah.
Whereas Darnell Wright would probably be there at 51, and Cody Mock may be there at 51.
The only way I see the offensive line working with the current staff is if they get the proper blocking tight end, and the fullback does its job.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I think Bobby had said this last season, and you weren't on the network just yet, but Alec Ingold was supposed to be a sleeper. He had up and downs last year, and he was coming more as a high advertisement. No one's really talking about him, but he has to improve. So if they go get a halfback or another fullback, it wouldn't bother me because I was actually like yours checking the way he's using San Francisco, and they have to do something. Right. But like I said, for me, it's the one thing I'm starting to notice a little bit, and I think it's the pheromones in the Dolphins building, whether it's Chris Grier, whether it's Mike McDaniel, where he was a prisoner, which we'll talk about a certain thing, a prisoner of the passing game, as Bobby always likes to say, but even think about it, even Coach Lem. Coach Lem, somehow, this was the guy who was there 2 years ago, and before Applebaum, and somehow he's still on the staff demoted. He still hasn't. It's
just
all
get rid of him.
Right. Yeah.
I understand that it's their lifestyle, but if I'm not doing my job as a teacher, I get first I'm going to get some write-ups, and eventually they're just going to cut me loose. Hire me. I know what to do as an offensive line coach.
Yeah. So for me right now, being the two of the biggest Dolphin fans and being caring about this team, they can't be done at offensive line because unless a miracle happens. Because right now, the only thing that gives me pause with Tua and getting rid of the ball. But one game, because they have a tough schedule next year. They have a second schedule in the NFL next year. If you have Austin Jackson starting game one, this fan base is going to have a total conniption. Okay.
Well, but he is working with that. He is working. His offseason is working with that offensive line guru, who is phenomenal, and develops offensive linemen.
But my joke last year.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying though.
My joke on 10th Street last night was Tua's jiu-jitsu teachers are Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson because they'll perfectly show them how to fall on their butts because they fall all the time. They just fall back. They have no problem falling back. So, Coach Lem was Pepe Le Pew. You're 100% right, G-Man. So that's for me on the offensive line. For me, I personally believe the O-line, the defense, D-line, linebacker, secondary, running game, wide receiver core, even the blocking tight ends that they have right now with Tanner Connor and Eric Starbert, they're going to go draft somebody. They'll fill up that room. Right now, this team will go as far as the offensive line will take them.
Right.
And if they're relying on a Teron Armstead to play 16 games and for this offensive line to do what they're needing to do,
right,
they are going to be in for a rude awakening really quickly. Because
when we signed Armstead last year, I was like, well, shit, that's an instant upgrade. But then the thing that made me extremely nervous was his injury prone.
Yeah.
And somebody said, well, if you can get him to, 8 games, isn't that good? And I was like, well, yeah, but if we can get him, if we can keep him in every game, that's even better. So
I want to answer G-Man's question. How did the special teams guys survive? I think Mike McDaniel took it upon himself last year, and I think he realized that was his choice. Josh Boyer was forced upon him. Danny Crossman, he could have got rid of last season or 2 years before. I think he's more putting it on the players, losing Ethan Carter, losing not having the right format there, and also not having the kick returner. I think he's putting it more on himself not to have the right players in the right place, and is willing to give Danny Crossman another shot. So that's for me where I stand on that. We were all surprised, but you know what? It's a special teams guy. You know what? In the end, as long as you have a good kicker, a good punter, and a good return guy, you're going to be fine. So the coach doesn't really play that role. So Mike McDaniel right now, I think, is going to be a little more involved in the special teams. I think he'll be a little more involved there. I think he'll have a little more time to spend there because I think last year he was more focused on the offense. And I think he realizes now that he has a defensive head coach, he doesn't have to worry about anything there. Right. And he doesn't have to be concerned about, like, trust me, he ain't walking up to anyone. He's not walking up to Vic Fangio and telling him, what the F are you doing? Right? Yeah. So for me, the offensive line for me is the determination factor. People can talk about Tua, people can talk about Tyreek, people can talk about Waddle, Phillips, everyone. In the end, it's all about the offensive line. If they don't come out and are not a top 10 offensive line, it doesn't matter what the rest of the team does. They will crap the bed. They will absolutely crap the bed. Overall, I want to talk a little bit about this. I know it's a small topic, but he was talking about special teams a little bit. I kind of thought they would bring back Morstead, but now they brought back Jake Bailey. Jake Bailey was one of the top paid kickers last year, and then he had a weird thing where he had an injury and they suspended him. I know it's not a big thing, but what do you think about bringing in another punter like 3 years in a row? Like, why do you think they didn't re-sign him? Are you happy with that?
I thought Armstead did a great job.
Morstead,
I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
I thought he did a great job punting last year. Yeah. And then so I was shocked when I saw him on Twitter.
It must have been the butt punt. It must have been
wearing the green Jets jersey. I was like, what in the hell just happened there?
Yeah.
But the Bailey kid, the Bailey kid can
supposed to be very good.
Yeah, he can.
He can also do kickoffs. He can also do kickoffs. So if Sanders is not there,
let's just let Sanders kick field goals and just focus on field goals.
Yeah. The one thing that would be key for me, I'm telling you this right now, and I think Bobby knows this, I did on every post-game show, I measure a kicker on touchbacks. And the one thing that they didn't do a very good job last year was they allowed too many returns.
Yes.
So you need to kick it out of the end zone. Don't even give them a chance to kick it. If you have to kick it out of bounds, kick it out of bounds. I don't care. Do not let them return the kicks.
I mean, that's the way, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the way the Colts were successful when they had Vinatieri, right?
Exactly.
They had McAfee punting and kicking off, and then him just kicking extra points.
Yeah, because Jason Sanders, for me, cannot – they have to find – I would bring in another kicker at training camp because one false move, I'd snap him. Honestly, he cannot have another year like he did last year. Like there was 2 or 3 games where I literally came on the post-game show and said – he literally changed the momentum of a game. He flipped the field and he changed the momentum of a game because at that point with the kicker like that, if it's 4th and 3 or less, I would just go for it at this point with him.
Yeah,
because it's not worth it because he's giving you bad field position anyways.
Yeah, I think I've said this in one of our other shows that it's the area that I'm concerned about is special teams. Yeah. I think it does help tremendously sign in Berrios.
Oh, I love him. I wanted him the day he was released. I called him.
And that if they can just leave him there to return the punts and the kicks and leave it at that and don't mess with anybody else in there, I think that has a tendency to be, special. And he can, as a utility wide receiver, I think he's got good enough hands. He's got better hands than Grant did.
Yeah. And also, you want to know what? It's his home. He played it to you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I want
his home stadium.
Yeah, his home. So for me, the special teams is already much better than it was before.
Right.
Yeah. Richland will be back, and they have Blake Ferguson's freaking long snapper. They have quality people there. I'm not honestly. Yeah. I'm more confident right now just with the signing of Baxton Berrios and Jake Bailey that and then Jason Sanders will figure out his stuff in the summer. Yeah. Hopefully, it won't be a problem next year. The next thing I want to talk about is the defense. So they talked a little bit about our Real Talk Fins talk, how we've completely transformed this defense in terms of bringing in some key players like David Long and bringing in Malik Reed and bringing in Jalen Ramsey and Deshaun Elliott and that. But what are your thoughts on just bringing Van Ginkel back? Like, what were your overall thoughts? Because last year, just to give you a stat, last year he played 79% of the snaps. With Boyer in the same defense last year that they ran back, he only played 21% of the snaps.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on bringing him back?
I think bringing again. I think Fangio found something in him that he liked, or he wouldn't have brought him back. In my opinion, I think that if guys are coming back on the defensive side, I think that's Fangio sitting in there watching film, saying, "This guy's good enough for me to be able to work with, for us to re-sign him." And then there's other guys where he's not going to fit the scheme, so just let him go. So I do think that he helps as far as depth, being able to come in some.
Yeah. Would you bring back a Melvin Ingram if you wanted a very base contract? Do you think the linebacker room is already filled up enough?
I like
the rotational guy. Would you bring back Ingram next again?
I mean, I would. I thought he did well when he was in there.
Me too.
If you can get him on a decent deal, I think you definitely bring him back.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the linebacker? Because for me right now, the highest paid linebacker on this team, I'm not talking about edge rusher like a Chubb or whatever, is Jerome Baker. Is he someone you truly believe will be an asset for this team next year? Because he and Cedric Wilson take up $20 million of our payroll.
Yeah.
And neither one of them is going to be the lead starter for this team next year. Because I think David Long is going to fit better into this defense than Jerome Baker. And Cedric Wilson, he literally could be fourth in the depth chart. He could literally be fifth in the depth chart.
Yeah.
Because I honestly think that Craycraft, Izukama, and Barrios can outplay him. Because he got outplayed by Sherfield and Craycraft last year.
Yeah.
So
I think I feel more some kind of way with the running back. I feel stronger about Baker being on the defense than Wilson on offense. Yeah. If you can find a trade partner with him, I think it would be good.
I said last night on East Trinity Boys, I'd give up a seventh rounder just to get rid of him off the payroll. Literally, I would just give it up. Honestly,
that's a big hit payroll-wise, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's $7 million guaranteed. You need to find a way to get rid of him, honestly. You're talking about it. But they talked about it on Real Talk Fins Talk. For me, there's something about Christian Wilkins that the joy that he has for this team is an intangible asset that I don't think you can buy. This was the first draft pick that Chris Grier did for the rebuild. If you remember, he almost toppled over Roger Goodell. There is no chance there is a 0% chance that this man is not a Miami Dolphin. I think they're just trying to find the right deal. I think they're waiting for the market to settle.
Yeah.
I think they're waiting for post June 1st. I think they're waiting I don't know what the deadline is for his fifth. He's going into his fifth-year option, so I think they have time to extend him because they've already committed to his fifth-year option. But I have a feeling they're going to see what happens with the post-June money.
Yeah.
And I think that after they sign the draft class, I think then they're going to focus on Sealer and Wilkins. That's a duo I think they want here for the next 5 years.
I do feel, and I know this is another, hot topic with the Dolphin fans, but I just feel like when Wilkins is in the game doing what Wilkins does, if the offense is scoring, he's out there on the field celebrating with them and doing the touchdown dances and all that. I do think that he brings a really good positive energy.
He's a captain.
So I do feel like he'll be on the team in the fall.
I think he'll be on I think he is a foundational piece. The problem I think is that in the end, I think he might take a little bit of a discount. I know he's trying to get big money, but I think he's not stupid about the fact that if he wants to win here, he knows Jalen Phillips is going to need money soon. He knows that Jalen Waddle is going to need something. He knows that if he wants to be part of this foundational team. Also, I have a feeling that he wants his buddy Sealer to be there, and I think they want to play together. There's a joy, though, because if you remember that touchdown in Buffalo with the two of them, it was like such joy of them together.
Oh, yeah.
It's a power duo. It's a power duo.
Yeah.
So, anyway, no, for me, I see them trying to find a trade partner for Baker or a trade partner for Ogba or or trying to do something with Raekwon Davis or something like that as a nose tackle. Because honestly, I would give up give up Raekwon Davis to somebody and get another pick, and I would go draft another nose tackle. I don't think he's been that impressive for us either.
Yeah.
So, because for me, this year for me, I've already made a few bets with a few people think I'm crazy. Their window is now. They have 2 years. Chris Grier basically realizes, and that's why I keep on reverting back to what he's doing with the O-line, in the sense that if he doesn't prove something this year, him and McDaniel are tied to Tua. I always say that. If Tua craps the bed and gets injured, that's one thing. But if they don't perform as a trio this year, all three are gone. Yep. Grier's not going to drop the ball on this one. Like Ross isn't going to give them one more year. He'll do it because he's believing in them this year. He's opening up his wallet for them. Like if he told them, I need more money to go get Matt Fielder or go get another offensive tackle, I would go do it.
Yeah.
So
he wants to see a championship before he dies.
Yeah. I want to get it out of the way because I want to give your opinion on it. I think it was completely taken out of context, but the whole nonsense with Trent Sherfield talking about being with an elite quarterback and the Tua being a one reader, that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on that overall? How that people just love to take that and turn it into something?
I mean, honestly, when I heard of it, it sounded like he was a little salty. But
they chose Barrios over him.
Look at your receiving core, right? And Barrios can do something that you can't do, which is return kicks. So it is what it is.
What memory do you? What's your lasting memory of Trent Sherfield? You know, mine is.
I mean, what was it?
Dropping a gimme in the snow.
Oh
in
Buffalo. Yeah.
Literally
right in the hands. Yeah,
right in the hands. Right in the hands. Boom. That I think he spelt this. I think that ended it for him. You know what I mean? I think that literally he was a good guy, but he's replaceable. Like he's not a dual threat. If Wilkins isn't a keeper, then what are we doing? Exactly. For me, Christian Wilkins is I think the most critical piece of that defense. I think he plays a bigger role than anybody else because he's never down. He's never down in the dumps. No matter what, he's going to do it. You know what I mean? Like he's just going to do it. So for me, it's the next 2 years. Make it or break it. They have to do it in this window. And I always make the joke that I would draft Hendon Hooker. I was not kidding. I was actually I would do it because at the same time, it's insurance for Tua. He's a trade piece if you need him. But I'm going to tell you this right now, and I'm going to get to this about the quarterback situation. I made the joke. Mike White always has a first good game or whatever, but they're banking on Tua. You know this. I know this. It doesn't matter if it's Skyler, Mike White, Gardner Minshew, Tyler Heineke, no matter what. If Tua goes down in this offensive scheme, the ability to win is going to be gone. And I'm not kidding about this. They will, if Tua somehow cannot play more and is going to miss 2 or 3 or 4 games towards the end of the season, they're not going to bring in Mike White.
Yeah,
they're going to call TB12 because they're going to say to him, if we're 9-3 or we're 8-2 or we're 10-4, he's going to want to come back. He's going to come back just to come play. I don't care what anybody says. The man will literally come with his kitten on the sideline and he will play. He wants to because within 5 years, he'll be part of the ownership group. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He's going to do his so-called deal with Fox, but he's going to end up being part of the Dolphins' future. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
100% he's going to be.
Poppy's got a question.
Poppy, do you think you can answer? Do you think we could go deep with Wilkins with this crappy O-line or deeper with a better O-line? Well, you just answered your own question. It's the latter. Wilkins is not the foundational piece to win. He's the foundational piece to succeed, but it's easier to find. Like I'd rather have a veteran right tackle and be able to go draft a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Because go ahead.
No, I was going to say the Poppy's question. I think my thing with Wilkins is I wouldn't want to trade him for draft capital.
No. Like
if we're going to trade Wilkins, then give me a stud right tackle or a stud guard.
We're not going to get pieces.
Yeah, I don't want to develop guys when we have guys we have to develop. So if we're going if that were to come up and we want to trade Wilkins for this not just some pushover right tackle, but a stud right tackle. I would hate doing it, but I would also understand the benefit of it.
Okay. For me, I always refer to O-linemen. I always refer to other sports and other things like that. But the two places, and you can see this because you see how the development, how quickly they go. Wide receiver, cornerback, safety, linebacker, defensive. The two positions that are the hardest to develop in the NFL are quarterback and offensive line. Because if you see it with all the stars, unless they're redshirted for a couple years, like they were Mahomes and like Brady and like Aaron Rodgers. If you look at when they threw, it took for Peyton Manning, it took Eli Manning, it took what's his name? What's his name? Even Herbert in his first year, he was okay, but Josh Allen did not become the quarterback he is until year 3.
Right.
Like, and I'm not comparing. There's no comparison.
But is that in the same offensive system? Was he in the exact same offensive system for those 3 years? Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Tua's been in 3 different offensive systems for years. Exactly. There's been no consistency.
Tua's not been in a single offensive system the same since he was in high school.
Exactly.
He had different offensive coordinators in college every year and for Miami. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out.
No. Like, for me, I don't want to hear about the one-read quarterback. You want to know what? This team, when he was there, I don't care what anybody says. It's not a fluke because none of us can go on the field right now as fans and go get the highest passer rating in the NFL. It's no joke. It doesn't matter how fast Tyreek Hill is and how open he gets and someone has to get him the football. For me, for Tua, it's all about himself. He's his own worst enemy because he doesn't realize his skill set and what he can and cannot do because he listens to the haters and he thinks he has something to prove. He needs to shut it off and just focus on playing football. That's all that matters. We know he's our quarterback this year. If he stays healthy and has a good season, he'll be our quarterback next year. As long as McDaniel's there, he'll be our quarterback unless he cannot be on the field. It's simple as that. It doesn't matter. I don't care if people on our network, because we're having that side Twitter chat, that he's fiberglass, that he's a one. I don't care. In the end, he's our quarterback. And I will support our quarterback because, as Steve Malloy always says, we may not always agree, but we're all Dolphin fans. And in the end, I will support Liam Eichenberg. I will support Austin Jackson. I will support the members on the team on the field. I don't have to like them. It's like that famous line that you teach your kids and I teach my kids. You don't have to like them, but you have to respect them. And they're going out there and they're doing their absolute best. It's the most dangerous sport to play in the world. They're putting their life on the line to play football because they know in a second with CTE they could be gone. Like Tua had last year. So in the end, just believe in your team and be happy. That's all that matters. We're all Dolphin fans. Let's have some fun. Evan then explained Tua against San Francisco Chargers and Green Bay. I'll explain it to you. In San Francisco, he had a bad game. In the Chargers game, it wasn't him. It was a dual thing with McDaniel. McDaniel was going against a Staley defense that knew how to clog up that middle of the field, and he never adjusted. You can listen to every single post game. He never adjusted. The other game against Green Bay, he got whacked and had a concussion, and then started throwing the interceptions. If he wasn't concussed on that hit, that's when he started throwing the 3 interceptions, and they didn't take him out because the spotter missed it. So you can't even look at the Green Bay game because the Green Bay was in our hands, and then he got injured, and he was still playing with an injury, and that's evident. The Chargers game was that game was not even, and people can talk about, the Herbert thing. Herbert had Keenan Allen back and Mike Williams back, and Eckler there. That was the biggest difference for him. Tua literally did not adjust to what they were doing. That game, they were dinking and dunking to Allen and we couldn't adjust to that. In the end, I was the hardest critic. As the number one bandwagoner last year, I was more harder on McDaniel than anybody else and his ability to adjust. And he never adjusted because he literally was stubborn and pig-headed. And I always joked around with like the pheromones in the Dolphins office. He was like Flo. The same way Flo would be stuck to the way we lost the Jacksonville game in London. That was what Mike McDaniel was doing. They can't get out of their own way because they think that their way is the only way.
Yeah.
Last season on the road choke job. No, it was a rookie head coach. That's why myself, Bobby, we all wanted veteran head coaches because we wanted someone who knows how to adjust and how to change scheme. There's this, and I said this, the number one free agent, guys, and I'm telling you if you disagree, the number one free agent is Vic Fangio. Because Vic Fangio is a mentor for Mike McDaniel. He has been a head coach. He's been in this league for 30 years. Over 35 years, he knows what he's talking about. He can go bounce ideas on him. He can give it, and he's going to be there as a support system. He's not going to make the same mistakes he made last year. It's just not going to happen. Because for me, this all falls on McDaniel. If McDaniel's not willing to adjust and focus and give people opportunities to grow, then the season is doomed from the start. Because you have to use your best players. You have to use what's in front of you. Just because you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they know what to expect. That's the thing. With his schemes, you have to make it. Also, one thing you have to do is he has to simplify the playbook for the backup quarterbacks. Because you can't give Tua the same playbook as the other two. You have to have 3 separate playbooks because they're not going to do it. In terms of football IQ, is going to be more superior than Mike White.
And ultimately, that was the downfall in the playoff game against the Bills. When you have your third string quarterback who has only been taking starting snaps for a week, 2 weeks.
Couldn't process the plays.
Yeah. So when you're call a timeout and you think you have the play on the field and then the downage is wrong, trying to get a play in there, that's just failure to.
No. So I'm gonna make Steve happy. I'm gonna make Bobby happy, and we're gonna talk about the running game a little bit. Because guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. We just surpassed 800 subscribers last night. It was fantastic on East 10th Street Boys. The network is growing and growing, and not anybody G-Man can get on the show. But if you'd like to join the show, we'll drop the link for you. Just send me a message at FinPause on Twitter. You're welcome to join the show. You could be on the show, and we can talk Dolphins.
You ain't gonna look as good as these two.
What do you mean the concussions are a convenient excuse? What do you mean? How is a concussion a convenient excuse? Someone gets hurt. That's an excuse. I'm not defending
you can't play in concussions.
Yeah, ask Eric Lindros if he can play with concussions. Jesus Christ. The running game. December games are. So let's think about it like this. They have 2 decisions to make. The Dolphins. Yep. We're going to throw it back a little bit to the offensive line. Mm-hmm. You have a choice. You either get a stout running back, or you get a stout offensive line. Because if you look at the Super Bowl last year and you look at how Miles in the playoffs, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Isaiah Pacheco, Jared McKinnon, the reason these are not star names, right?
Right.
The reason they were successful is they had studs on the O-line.
Right. I think if you look at it, Philadelphia and Kansas City, they had the line. Yeah. Their offensive lines were.
They need good offensive line.
Yeah, they were.
Raheem Mostert and the other ones, you knew that they can get you yards, but they're not going to be the stout people on 3rd and 4 where you're going to utilize them in the running game. We don't have a thumper.
Right.
We don't have a thumper. So that's why unless you're going to go get an elite, you need to go get an elite wide receiver. They have a choice in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
They either go get a stud running back, or they fix the O-line any way, which way. Whether it's going to get Cody Mock in the draft, or whether it's going to get Freeland, or whether it's to go get Matt Freeler, or go make a trade for another O-lineman on a team that's struggle that looks like they're going to tank for next year. Go get Caleb Williams. Go do something. Yeah. But for me, that makes the biggest difference. For me, I would go get a Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook if you're not willing to go fix the O-line. That's the biggest difference. If you look at teams that win, it's because their O-line is stout or their running back is stout. Because a Derrick Henry on a 30-second yard.
If you're committed to the running backs you have now, then you have to go out and get the pieces that we need, which is that right tackle position specific.
Who was his coach, G-Man? Who was his coach? Was it Channing Frye? Was it Coach? Brian Flores was his support. Okay, give me a freaking break. I don't want to hear this nonsense.
Or, like you were saying, if you for whatever reason don't want to go get that
Batman Pop
stud right tackle, then can you swing the fences and get Henry or Dalvin Cook or something like that to help make up for the fact, this the running back group is fine if you've got the offensive line.
It's not
the studs on offensive line, right? Exactly.
It's not structured properly, right?
The San Francisco 49ers offensive line is much better than Miami Dolphins, and that's why Mostert did so well for them.
Yeah. For me, as a true bandwagoner, and so are you, they ran it back with the O-line. Yeah. They're running it back pretty much with the offense, and they're really transforming the defense to what Vic Fangio wants.
Right.
So in the end, that decision is on Mike McDaniel. If Mike McDaniel truly believes that, don't blame Tua, don't blame Tyreek, don't blame anyone else. Yeah. Mike McDaniel has told Chris Grier, I'm comfortable with my offensive core. Go help Vic Fangio fix that defense. Yeah. And so in the end, he's comfortable with this. Can they still be a top 5 offense next year? Absolutely. But when it comes to the big games where you need if you're on the 5-yard line and 1st and 5 to win the game, he's going to throw the ball 3 times.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. The only so in the end, that's my only concern.
Right.
If he doesn't have that person.
Also, like you were saying though, is you kind of want that stud running back to take over those cold weather games in the fourth quarter and in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And if you have that stud running back, I don't know what it's worth. I don't know who gets traded or whatever to be able to secure that piece.
Was it Duke Johnson, or who was it in the game where they got away from it with in Tennessee where we flopped? Was it Duke Johnson who had over 100 yards rushing in the first quarter or first half, and then we gave up on it, right? Like, you need a thumper. You know what I mean?
And Poppy brings up a good point because they've done it before. Put Wilkins in at fullback, and if he's not going to block, then throw him the ball again.
Yeah. So in the end, for me, everyone knows this. I ended the season like this. For me, it's all up to the coach. Yeah. This is his team. He built this team. The foundational pieces. It's not even on Chris Grier, because he could have said to Chris Grier, "I need this. Don't sign these 4 running backs." It's not a Chris Grier hire those 4 running backs. This is a Mike McDaniel decision. Yeah. So in the end, it's up to him what he wants to do. So for me, if the right fit happens, go get a Henry, go get a Cook, go get an Eckler. I don't care. It's because if you're already going for it on the wide receiver core, on the linebacker core, on the edge core, on the secondary, why are you settling for broke? Why are you settling for mediocre or average on the running game and on the O-line? Like, why would you do that?
I completely agree with what you're saying. Yeah.
So for me, that's what I want to see. If you want to get if the Dolphins truly want the pull, because even Tua, that conversation is going to go. But I guarantee you, people are going to calm themselves on Tua and what he can do if they fix those things. Because you're also basically saying to this guy, "I believe in you," but you're also not giving me my protection, and you're also not giving me my compliment.
Right.
Running game, and that's
which was Marino's issue.
Yeah,
that's why we never got back to a Super Bowl, because we didn't get a running back that would complement him.
Yeah.
And it's why Ricky Williams wasn't successful, because we didn't have a good quarterback to go with him. So
welcome, Edward. Welcome to the network. Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe. G-Man, the GM doesn't get bullied by this head coach. McDaniel does not bully him. I think he's a yes man. It's not about that. I think it's a kumbaya synergy, unlike it was with Flo. The difference is that because of the success of the offense last year, and because they want to make Vic Fangio happy, they probably said to him, "You come here, we'll make you the top defensive coordinator, and we'll give you and we'll give you the best contract, and we'll give you what you need to build your defense." So overall, for me, this team is foundational. It's like doing a 1,000-piece puzzle.
Yeah.
And you're missing that, and then you have about 20 pieces left, and you can't finish it. That's what they're missing. They are for me, it's not even a tight end. They are one move away from me being convinced that this team is an AFC Championship Super Bowl contender next year.
Yeah.
With Tua quarterback healthy. I said healthy. And that's go get a right tackle, a veteran right tackle and left guard, or go get a stud running back. Do one or the other. If you go get Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, I'll be quiet about the offensive line. If you go get a stout a right tackle, or you go draft one, if you go get a Cody Mock and play all 5 positions, or you go get a John Michael Schmitz because you truly believe he's the best player in the draft, and you're able to then put Connor Williams at one of the left guard, I will be content with that. But do something. Do something to show that the O-line has depth, because there's nothing wrong with having depth at offensive line, because you want to know what it doesn't hurt. I wouldn't care if you put Austin Jackson or Liam Micah on the freaking practice squad. Let someone go pick them up. Who cares? Yeah. Honestly, who cares?
Stop
bully in what universe? You're right.
Stop reaching on offensive linemen. I can't think off the top of my head, but I know that when we took Jackson at pick 18, there were other offensive tackles on the board that or other offensive linemen that were proven and higher rank. That just go with the best offensive tackle available.
Unless you're the top 5 in the draft, top 10, you go get the best player available, even if you don't need him at the position. Talking just off another sport, I'm from Montreal. I'm from Canada, big hockey town, obviously the number 1 hockey town in the world. Yeah. We have not had a center in hockey, which is the most important position on the team, even more than the goalie, because it's the foundational piece that wins you championships.
Yeah,
we have not had one forever. We had to trade for one. Yeah. The one we tried to draft was supposed to go in the late teens, early 20s. They took him 3rd in the draft, and 3 years later, he's on another team, and has never been successful. He's a decent hockey player, but nothing.
Right.
So So for me, in the end, you have to go with the best player in the draft. I don't care. The Dolphins built themselves around this. The O-line, whoever it is, I would honestly, if John Michael Schmidt is your guy, trade up and go get him. You want Cody Mock, trade up and go get him. I don't care. I don't care if we end up with one draft pick. Because for me, the window is the next 2 years. Because after these 2 years, you're literally going to have to reassess unless you get really lucky. So this is their window to show what they can do. If they don't make it, win two playoff games plus this year, and show that they've won 12 plus games, it's a failure of a season to me. No bones about it. I don't care what the injuries are, because in the end, when you have the Tyreek Hill, when you have a Bradley Chubb, when you have a Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Javon Holland, you go for broke now. Go for broke. You have nothing to lose.
Right.
No one deserves a championship more than Miami.
Yeah.
And so go get one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just want to.
No hot goalies. Go look at the last couple goalies who've won championship. Darcy Kemper, Anthony Miami won a championship. For Chris Osgood won a championship. Give me a break. Hot goalies don't win nothing. So
but I do feel like if you roll into Buffalo in January, and with your third string quarterback, and almost knock them off.
Be afraid.
Like, I don't feel like Miami's that far away. Like, if again, all this is we understand too. If it's not too, when we finally get rid of Tua, it's gonna be Tannehill wasn't the answer either. We got rid of him, and Tua. We'll get rid of Tua, and it'll be Billy Joe Smith or whoever, and nobody's gonna like him either. Yeah. But until we get into the playoffs and when we win a game in the playoffs, then you start to feel that rolling action.
By the way, on my morning Gesicki, number 17 is my favorite number. And on the back of the jersey, hold on one sec. Fins up,
baby, fins up.
And not morning nothing. It is a super cool jersey. Okay, my favorite number 17. My son loves 17. 17 is huge in my family, and I think it's an awesome jersey. So, fuck all you over here at Kick Rocks. Welcome, Woo back. Thank you so much for joining. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Does Stephen Ross deserve a championship? We'll end on this, because the one thing I will talk about Stephen Ross, okay? Yes, he's part of my tribe. Yes, I'm biased. But my second home growing up has been Ford. My family's had a place there forever, goes back 3 generations. If you drive up to Miami Gardens and you drive along towards the Turnpike and you drive on Ives Dairy Road all the way down to the stadium, you see the new tennis courts. You see the F1. You see what he put $250 million of his own money to renovate that stadium.
Not somebody else's money.
No, someone else's
money.
His own money. The guy may have a brain fart when it comes to being an owner, because he really wants his team to win, but you can't question the fact that he wants to win. You can't question the fact that he's not doing the, trust me, he has a lot more things he can do with his money. The man's worth $11 billion. This guy has a lot more to do with his money. He's doing this because the joy he has for the Miami Dolphins and wanting them to win and to bring. He wants to bring Dan Marino his first championship while he's part of this team. Honestly, like, he cares about, and the city of Miami is craving a championship. If you think about it, the Heat have been. Everyone's won championships around them. The Panthers or whatever, but the Heat have won. The Marlins have won. The Dolphins are the franchise of the city. They are the football is king, and they still haven't won. Trust me, he wants to win.
Well, and he
don't care about Formula One or tennis. You're missing the point, G man. Jesus Christ.
Well, but like you saying with Ross, I mean, he's brought all this stuff to South Florida with that stadium. You know, the drone racing and the Formula One and the tennis inside the stadium. Like, he wants to win, and he deserves to win. I mean,
No, for me, they're in the right direction. There's just one piece of the puzzle, and it's that infamous line trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and that's what they're doing with the O-line. So if they do what Steve Malloy wants, do what Bobby wants, go get Derrick Henry, go get Dalvin Cook.
Right.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Honestly, there's a lot more happening. I hope this is another week. You never know; they could surprise us with something, right? So he just wants to win. You're right, hooked up, Joe. I love the new people who have joined, guys. The people who have joined,
we appreciate you.
We appreciate you. We're going to have a lot of fun this off-season. We have so much more to talk to. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tomorrow, we don't have Fast Break, but we have a special episode of No Holds Bar, WrestleMania preview. I'll be jumping on that show at one point.
Let's go.
And then we have Huddle Up and Wait on Thursday, probably. Friday night, you're going to see my
No
beautiful
Holds
face.
Bar is the special episodes for next week.
Oh,
WrestleMania
my
preview.
apologies. Next week we have to. We'll talk a regular no holds bar tomorrow, so I'll just troll them tomorrow. My apologies, El Jefe. By the way, I want the sweet voice of Tati in my ears. Jesus Christ, guys, Quarry, no holds bar tomorrow. Thursday, huddle up and wait unless they cancel it. I never know with Dave Staker, Brett Lagasse. You never know at the last minute. Then you're going to see my beautiful face, Michael's beautiful face.
That's right.
Bobby, you're going to see Bobby
with
again.
a special guest.
With a special guest on Thursday night, on Friday night.
Friday night, yep.
John Ellis is going to join us.
Of the Carolina Panthers beat is going to come on and see if we can't
pull from him who they're going to draft.
Right, who they're going to.
Is it CJ Stroud? Is it Bryce Young? Is it Will Levis? Is it Anthony Richardson? Who knows? They might surprise not take a quarterback and believe in the red rifle. You never know.
There you go.
But no, guys, we're going to have a lot of fun with the draft show. We're still waiting for our outline so we can prepare our homework for Bobby. He has a very detailed homework for us in advance of the thing. Always well prepared for that show. I can promise you that. He doesn't wing it.
Evan and I are going to see how bad we can screw up his.
Exactly. And then Fins Talk today on Saturday. Then you have Once Upon a Sunday on Sunday. Then you'll have East 10th Street Boys and the Beer and Sport Cast on Monday. I run the show like Bobby. I like to do the rundown. It's a lot of fun. I love the new people who have joined. I hope you liked and subscribed. Wooback, G-Man, John. Is Bobby wearing a dress? I'm not sure. He's maybe wearing a kilt today. I'm not sure. Dolphins 72. I'll bet research will find Dolphins converted less than 20% of their third and longs. They are drive killers. I'll tell you, Dolphins 72, we are more successful at converting our third downs on offense, way more than we were able to stop the third downs on defense. I can promise you that. 3rd and 7, we would be 1st and 10, 2nd and 9, 3rd and 17, first down. So that's one thing that won't happen next year. We will have a top 5 defense.
I just want to say that the last comment by G-Man is absolutely false. He is not one of the worst owners in sports.
No,
go check out
false.
Washington. Washington.
Washington. Mike Brown, the Mike Brown of the Bengals. Are you kidding me? Awful owner. They did nothing for that team. They lucked out with Joe Burrow and they lucked out with Joe Arch. They've never been a foundation. They're winning in spite of their owner. There are so many bad owners in sports. You can't even come close. Go ask the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're owned by the Glazer family. Go ask Manchester United in England how much they despise the Glazer family there. Every time the Glazers are there, they exit them. Okay, they despise them. There are so many bad owners in sports. You have no idea. What does it have to do? You said about bad owners in sports. Owners do not create championships. Teams build championships. GMs build championships, not owners. He's giving the foundation to win. He's not stuck in the past. At least he's trying to win. He's not stuck with Dak Prescott. He's not stuck putting salt on his McGriddles. Okay, guys, there are owners in sports. Stephen Ross cares about winning. That's all he cares about. That's why he gets in trouble. He tried to go get Tom Brady. He tried to go get Deshaun Watson. Not because he wanted to lose. Are you kidding me? Anyways, because the Bears suck because their owner is 90-something years old. Don't blame poor her. You know what I mean? So, anyways, any final words before we call it a night? Because I know Bobby has to go have some supper.
I know. It's been another great show.
I haven't had supper yet either, Bobby. So join the club. Go ahead.
Love our Tuesdays together.
Yeah, it's no more fun. However, I will tell Steve Malloy and Bobby that you stole our thunder for 12 minutes. It hurt only talking to ourselves. So tomorrow, next time, we're starting the show at 7:48. We're taking our 12 minutes back.
Appreciate you, Poppy.
Poppy, we enjoy you. Hooked Up Joe, G-Man, Dolphin, JM Santos. Next week, guys, I'm actually, unless we get another guest that Michael wants to invite, we're going to drop the link. Want to hear from all of you. We're going to give you guys the platform to say anything you want about the Dolphins and have real interesting talk. We're just here to have fun. We are the true Dolphin fans. No matter what, all we want to do is see success for our Dolphins. They give us passion. This is our therapy. You're here to support us. We couldn't thank you enough. Thanks to the Fins Talk Sport Network for continuing to let us do this. Any other final words, Michael, before we head out? What do you have to look forward to?
Fins up, baby.
Fins up, buddy. Good night, all.
The off season, man, is leading up to the draft.
Yeah, can't wait.
So every day is just, watching film and trying to find that hidden gem.
And for G-Man, before we go, in the famous words of El Jefe, El Gringo, the famous song that kept me going all season. Kumbaya, my boy.
Exactly.
Kumbaya.
Give me big DeJuan Jones.
Have a good night, guys.